Hey guys, NeapolitanGal here. Well, as my Instagram post suggested today, I'm actually doing a live video tonight. I wasn't going to do live, I decided to go live, showing you how to make these types of face masks. Now, we've all seen the paper ones that people are walking around with, the medical ones that they're almost impossible to get. Where people are getting them from, I don't know. I know a couple local suppliers here in Naples have been charging buku loads for them. But I'm going to show you how to make these. This one's solid black. I think I have another one in my bag of tricks over here. And I'll show you, there'll be a link down in the description after the live is over to tell you where to get the pattern that I'm using. I made one last night, and I'm going to show you what not to do when you do these. And this is what not to do. And I'll explain a little bit later what I did to not do what this is. So there is a link down below, once this is no longer live, to show you where to go get this template. And if you see this template, you can see on here that there is one for smaller children. Don't have my glasses on. Small kids is ages 3 to 6, young kids 7 to 12, teenagers and women, and then men. And there's not a lot of difference between the men and women one. And if you cut it just right, it actually, there's very little difference. Just keep in mind if you're making them, just, if your guy's face or if your face is bigger, just use the right size, because it all comes down to the ear straps, really. If this is too small, the ear straps will be pulling your ears in like this, and that is the last thing you want to do. And I'll show you, I've got two cut out here. Here's the one for the women. Here's the one for the guys. And as you can see, honestly, there's hardly any difference in the sizes of these. But I am making the women's tonight. And my cousin just jumped on to, hi Stephanie, just jumped onto my Instagram live. And so I think I'm going to make hers. She asked me for one, so I'm going to make it. Why not? So basically what you want to do is, if you're using a darker colored fabric, you want like a white colored pencil. I know it doesn't make sense. If you're using a dark, if you're using a light fabric, then something like just a regular pencil will do just fine. I even used a dark marker last night when I was making that green one that I goofed up. So, so here is the material, I guess we'll call it material, that I'm using for her face mask. It has flamingos on it. She's also from Florida, but she lives in Kentucky, so she wanted flamingos. And then I'll use this for the inside. That's a little bit cleaner cloth. And I think I've got to bring my pencil out with me, so I'm going to cut very carefully, freehand. So you need a good pair of scissors. Your kitchen shears won't do. You need fabric scissors or crafting scissors of some sort. And I can tell you I've got a sewing machine, but it's not acting right now. So let me show you real quick of what you want to do for your ear straps. The elastics are hard to come by these days for your ear straps. So what you're going to want to do is, you can use some wire for the nose if you want a stiffer nose. That's just regular crafting wire. You can get in any bead section of craft stores. These are giant rubber bands. These are real rubber bands. These guys I found in Walmart in the stationery department, I think where the tape ends and things were, or maybe one all over from there, but depends on your store anyway. If you don't want these going around your ears, you can also do something like a headband. These are from the Dollar Tree. You get a pack of 2 or 3. Of these guys. These are lace, and there is a spot here that you can take them apart, and you can stitch them onto either side of the mask and just have it go around the back of your head. And then, of course, if you can find the elastics for the ears, go for that one too. My very first mask, which I did not bring out with me, went completely around the head. Now I also have these guys. This is elastic cord. This is more used for bracelets, but see how fine it is? But you can also use this stuff too. And it comes in a variety of colors. I've got green, rainbow, red, blue, and some sort of silver. And then this would be good for around your ears too. Just, you know, keep in mind that it may be really uncomfortable after a while because it's not slick. It's got some texture to it. So the only thing I didn't do was bring out my glasses. So when it's time to thread the needle, I may be cheating a little bit when I've got a little threader in here. Okay, so let's cut the fabric first. Let's see what we got. And by the way, that's my son's very first tackle box. It's Lightning McQueen from the Carsman. My son is 16 now, so it's mom's. But it works out great for a little carry around sewing kit. So let's see what we got here. Sorry, Steph, I don't have any more of the shell material, so you're just going to get a really fat flamingo on your face. So you want to lay your fabric out as flat as you can, especially if you're not using anything to mark it with. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring any pencils or anything else, so you want to lay your pattern down. Now, this is the side that you're sewing. You're sewing two of these together, basically, for your center part of your mask, and then you're sewing it all the way from the top to the bottom. And then this is where your straps are going to go. So you can either pinch this when you sew it so that it's a little smaller, and then you just have the strap, you know, a little bit less spread out, or you can leave it completely spread out and, you know, have the strap go completely across the ear. Now, what we'll do is those big long rubber bands, will actually cut one of those in half, sew them onto either side of this inside before it's completely closed and sewn together, and I'll explain in a minute exactly what I'm meaning by that, because it's not just two pieces of fabric. There's 4 pieces of fabric per mask. One piece just really wouldn't be secure enough. It would be very flimsy, but sewing 2 pieces together, then it becomes washable. I wouldn't dry them, especially with the rubber bands, but you're going to sew these 2 pieces together like this, your straps here, and then you've got your mask. And that's that cool mask that you see a lot of people wearing around these days. So basically, you want to figure out where the center of your fabric is going to be. More or less, we want a flamingo head on one side and a flamingo backside on the other. So I'm only going to use half of this fabric because I am going to do the back side of it as a white terry cloth fabric. So that way I've got more to work with. So you're going to place your fabric down. You decide where, what your head section is going to be on the one, and body on the other. So let's see here. I think we're going to do it like, and I'll bring you down so you can see kind of what I'm doing. There we go. And let's move you over here, and let's bring you down. So my tripod was lost, and I finally found it. Yay! So probably the best thing to do is to put the 2 pieces together and see exactly what I want facing which way. And I think it's going to be like this. So, and I really should have cut some of these pieces out, and I do apologize for not cutting any pieces out before I came out here. Maybe like that so it gets the body. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is go ahead and take your scissors once you get lined up and just cut. And you know what? If you don't have a pen or pencil to mark your spots with, then you definitely want to grab a straight pen just to hold yourself in place. Put a straight pen in where it's not going to be in your way. There you go. And then that way your cardboard doesn't move. And since I was a big dummy and didn't come out with a pencil, this is the best way to go. All right. So let's move that. Now again, my sewing machine is not acting right. That's why I'm doing all this stuff by hand. All the stitching and everything. So you just begin to cut. Just make sure if you're not going to be marking your spots, just to make sure that nothing bunches up anywhere where it shouldn't. And the good news is this is a very forgiving pattern. If you screw it up, as long as what you screwed up is sewed to the inside, it'll come out perfectly fine. So it's getting really breezy out. It's such a wonderful time of year here in Florida. We're getting almost to our rainy season. We're still very dry right now. We are expecting some heavy rain this weekend. Okay, so here's one panel. And that's the one panel. And then you just figure out how you want your other panel to look. So this thing says stand tall in it, so I want to make sure that I don't get any of the words in with it. But then again, like I said, if you do goof, it's always fixable. So there we go, that works. Because again, as long as whatever you goofed on cutting, where it's cutting at, as long as it goes on as long as whatever you goofed up winds up on one of the seams that you're going to sew, who cares? Hello there on YouTube, whoever's watching. Okay, so we're going to cut our second panel, and then I'll show you the easy thing. Since I am going to be using the complete white fabric on the inside of this, that is so much easier to cut. Okay, here we go. I made my mom 2 of these masks out of this. These are dishcloths I got from the Dollar Tree, believe it or not. So I made my mom 2 of these. One was completely all shells, and then one was half shell, half flamingo, because believe it or not, the flamingo faces the same direction on both sides of the towel. Which I guess it's okay, but would have been so much better if the flamingo faced the opposite direction on the other side of the towel, so that if people were doing something different, with it than what I am, at least it would be saying down the wrong thing. At least it would be easier to work with. So going like that, and like that, and I just need to cut the inside. The great thing with this particular pattern is that it's very easy to sew. This is not a pattern that you have to have any great skill at sewing. So this is something you can sit down with your kids and teach them to do. So basically your flamingo is going to be put together right here. It's almost going to look like a complete flamingo. Now, here is the best part of this whole process. Let's move that towel, and we're going to take the white cloth now and give it a good shake out, and then we're going to fold it right back in half, and we're going to take our pattern and lay it out just so. Now this again is going to be the inside of this, so this will be against your nose. The reason I'm not using the towel material against the nose is it's soft, but it's also, I can't say that it frays easily. It just, this is a lot easier to, this is a lot more comfortable in the face, I think. I don't think I made my mom's with this stuff. I was sort of trying things out and wound up with what I wound up with. So, since I messed that up a little bit, let's put this over here and see where I need to fix. Now, once you get this all cut, you're obviously you're going to take this apart because it's got to be in two separate pieces. There we go. This is a lot easier if you draw on it first. I'm not going to worry too much with having any extra because, again, I can always sew it onto the inside part of the pattern. As long as the basic portion of it is good to go, it's good to go. Okay, so here we are. All right, so let's separate these two pieces. And the reason you have to separate these two pieces is because that is not the part that's getting joined on the inside of the mask. So at this point is where you can decide if you just want to put the mask together or if you want something to go on the inside. If you want something to go on the inside, then you need to figure out what it is. Just remember, if you put a filter of some sort inside there, you got to be able to take it out because you probably won't be able to wash it. What you want to do is if you're doing any sort of patterns, when you lay them down, they actually have to face one another on the inside. And then that's when you take one panel here, flip, second panel on this side, and then this is where your needle and thread's going to come in. And basically you're going to sew across here first, and then you're going to separate and sew to the other sides. So let's get a needle out. And because this is white material, let's go with some white thread. You can do this in sections, so if you don't want to use too much thread at one shot, don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. I have much larger spools of thread. It just happened to be the first white one that I spotted when I was taking this apart. Let's see, can I do it the first shot? Fortunately, it's a little dark on my patio. It's rather late at night, so I may have to use my little threader. Yes. This poor thing's got quite the workout the last couple of nights. So. If you've never really sewn before and first learning how, this is called a threader. You actually put it through the eye of your needle, and then you thread your thread through that piece instead. It's a little metal piece. Hold on to it and pull. Uh-oh, I just messed it up, thanks. I'll have to fix that. But then you thread your needle nicely. Now, this is what I've been doing with my thread. You don't have to do this with yours, but this is what I've been doing with my thread. I've actually folded it in half. I'm going to bring my two ends together and tie. Ooh, listen to that wind. Tie them together. And then this way, and I'm going to do it twice. So this way you've got double the thread that you're using. And then, so I don't have to go back and do it later, I'm going to nip it right about there. About, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or so before the actual knot. All right, so make sure your needle is exactly in the middle. And start sewing. It doesn't matter where you start sewing from, just as long as it's this center portion here. Now I'm going to show you my trick. So rather than going back and forth and back and forth, we're going across the top. Okay, you want to take your needle, put it through just ever so slightly, and do this instead. And you can get several pokes in there before you need to pull it out. It saves so much time. The reason I pulled it out of there is I want to make sure that everything's lined up here in the middle. So as I'm going through, I'm getting all 4 pieces. So just make sure you start where you left off. This is where a little bit of precision comes in, because, you know, especially using white, you don't want to poke yourself and, you know, be bleeding everywhere. And the great thing is with using the doubled up thread like I'm using is that you only have to do this once on each side. You don't have to go back for a second row because your second row is already there. So, all right, we're almost to the end. Now, what I want to do now is make sure this is completely straight and just open this up for a minute. And you're going to turn it inside out. Well, actually, going to turn it right side out and see what you missed. Now, if you did miss something, then yes, go back. Make sure that you get whatever you missed, which I just missed the top portion of this because it turned on me. And that, I can actually just go in and sew. As long as I make sure it's lined up, I can go back in and pick up where I left off. And then go back down a little ways. But I want to finish up these tips right here. Now, you don't have to have a fully pointy top of the nose. If you don't want it fully pointy, you can always nip that off. I'm going to turn this. I'm going to go back a handful of stitches just so I know the flamingo is good. And he's in. There we go. Whoops. Just have to watch where your thread goes when you do that. All right, turning back in and make sure that he's now all tucked in. Yep, he's all tucked in now. Okay, so now what you want to do is, now that you have sewn that together, and I did still miss a little bit, which I can go back and fix. I need to go back that direction anyway. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to come out here and I'm just going to make sure that I use, that I'm only going through that piece. And we'll pull it right to the middle. Now, as you get better at this, you know, it becomes a lot easier. So don't worry about it too much. Now, this is a great time to go through your closet, get the clothes that you have shrunken, you know, the shirts that you have shrunken, and go ahead and start using them for fabric. Fabric is expensive, and as long as you like the pattern of the shirt or shirts, go for it. Now, there is a lady I saw on Facebook. One of my managers showed me last week. There was a Facebook video showing this lady using socks. And so that is a whole nother video. I'm probably not going to go there. Socks are expensive unless you go to Dollar Tree. All right. So now once you're done with that portion, if you don't have a whole lot of thread left, this is where you can tie the thread off and start a new piece of thread. But so now what you want to do is open it up just like this, see, and start sewing the edges. When you get to the edges for where your earpieces are going to go, you don't want to close those up until you actually get out whatever you're using for your earpieces and you start to sew them in. Like if I'm going to go this way, I would sew up to here, get a rubber band out, I would make sure I'd stitch it in. I would continue down here, get to the next spot where the next rubber band's going to go, and stitch it. But what you're going to want to do is roll over the fabric here and roll over the fabric here so that it's all tucked. So where's my needle? There's my needle. So now what you want to do is make sure that your fabric stays tucked. And if you do run out of thread while you're doing this, no big deal. Just tuck in your ends. And I'll show you how to finish them off. So I'm going to be running out here in just a second. Make sure this is stretched out. Ooh, air feels good tonight. We don't normally get a cool breeze this time of year, but we're supposed to have a little bit of cool front coming down this week, so at nighttime, the humidity's dropping a little bit and the breeze kicks in. It's a sea breeze because I'm only about 10 minutes from the water from the Gulf of Mexico, so all right. Almost there. I think when I get to the end here, I'll show you how to put on your earpiece, and then I'll show you how to finish off that yarn, that thread. Okay, so what I want to do is, so we're going to go with pink since the flamingos. Take your rubber band, nip the one end. There we go. And then make sure they're perfectly lined up. Now for women, you want to nip the tip here about 1/4 inch down and then use it. Because, you know, we got smaller faces for the most part. And you don't want a super long piece. So we're going to roll these edges over. But before we take the needle to it, we want to slide in one end of this. So we're going to take that and we're going to tuck it in right there. And there we go. Secure that with 1 or 2 stitches. There you go. You'll know when you're going through the rubber band because it is very difficult to go through the rubber band. So no worrying about, oh, I missed it. No, no. Trust me, there is no missing it. You either, if you have any resistance at all when you're putting that needle through, you've got it. So, all right. So, but now since I know that this is going to be too short to continue on with, I'm going to put 1 stitch right here beside. But before I bring it all the way out, oops. If it's too short, you just want to tuck it back through that, like that, and then you can cut it off. All right, so a little bit more thread. Where my white spool get off to? Now remember, you have to do this for two sides of this, so and since I broke my threader, I'm gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. You know what? I think I have my brand new needle from last night right here, and that should be a lot easier to see the hole. There we go. Got it. All right. If you're new to sewing, I would suggest securing that needle while you're doing this part. That way, if you lose the end of your thread, you haven't also lost your needle. Okay. And again, I'm making that double knot here. I'm just going to tuck that under twice, and then give it a good tug, and nip that off. All right, so there you go. Now again, you want to make sure that you're tucking your edges down, and this is the best time to fix any goofy seams you have. So if you didn't cut straight, don't worry about it. This is the time to tuck all that stuff in. So, but what I want to do is, instead of starting from the outside, and I apologize for how bright it is, start from one of the inside seams like this, and then that way you can always hide your thread. My I not muscling it big enough? Okay, one more time. Found a weak spot in that material. Okay. But again, so we'll start over here. We'll start from the inside seam just so you can hide your thread inside. And then that way you tuck it under and it's good to go. So again, you want to start just like this, in and out. And you can match up your seams as you go. These are the easiest things in the whole wide world to make. If you're making these for your family, again, you'll have the pattern down below where to go find this pattern. If you're making these for yourself, that's even so much easier, because if you're making these for yourself, you can actually try these on. If you're making these for yourself, try them on, make sure they fit. If you're making these for someone else, don't try them on. Especially if you don't know the person. So if you don't know the person and the person doesn't know you, the very last thing you want to do is to take any chances in exposing anybody to germs. Okay, so now you're going to take this over and just make sure it's straight. You don't want to roll that. It's really uncomfortable. Tuck that side in there. Figure out where you left off with your thread. Make sure this is in far enough so it actually will stay. And start from the top and work your way down. Keep your fingers out of the way, especially if you're working from the opposite side this time. If you find, and I do find with my own that I've made, that the ears do get a little uncomfortable after a while, I would suggest maybe a banana clip or something like that, maybe a Lego that you can adjust a little bit to. I just want to get a couple stitches in there, and then we'll do the easy way. But that way you can put on the back of your head and then just put your ear straps over. But if you're going to do that, then you want to make sure you make your ear straps longer. Because obviously if they're not long enough, then going across the back of your head isn't going to feel very good. Sorry, I had to look up for a second. We've got a bear in our neighborhood. I just thought I heard something in the bushes, but it is very breezy out. So I've got one side done here. Again, always make sure that it's not bunched up too badly here. Oh, that's what happened. There we go. So I got one side done. Look at there, Steph, if you're still here. One side's done. And then we're going to work our way around. Again, these are washable. Do not dry them. I don't think the dryer would like the rubber bands, or rubber bands wouldn't like the dryer, one of the two. I say wash them because if you're going to wear them, especially if you're going to wear them any length of time, and or if you're going to wear them multiple times, you want to make sure that at some point they get a good wash. I don't recommend, not really supposed to wear a mask more than once without washing it, but that part's really going to be up to you. If you've only made yourself one mask, you're going to go to stores a couple days in a row, I completely understand. But make sure that at the very least, if you're going to be around people who you hear coughing or sneezing, allergies or not, I don't care. At the very least, maybe take them inside and hand wash them for the night. I'm actually planning on, with our masks, to get a lingerie bag from the Dollar Tree and just pop our masks in when we do towels or maybe a load of whites or something. All right, so next, we'll take this side, make sure we tuck it down. Now, I did wind up with this side being a little bit longer on this side, so I can tuck it under or I can tuck it over. I'm going to tuck it under, though. And I'm going to take rubber band, slip it right in there, make sure that that's tucked. And again, you want to get a couple of good stitches in there first, and then, oh shoot. If you find it's too long, you can always nip it off too, which I think I'm going to do. There you go. Inevitably, what I'm winding up with is extra cloth there. So let's now tuck this over and tuck that over. And again, you just got to get the one side going, and then, you know, it's easy peasy from there. There we go. All right, so okay. Went to Joann's Fabrics over the weekend. Holy cow. That place is a madhouse. I've never, ever, in all the times I've ever gone to Joann's, ever seen it so busy. But I think everybody is making masks. So, all right, so I'm going to flip that over here so it's out of my way. And because I think everybody is making masks, that's why the whole store was so packed. My mom called. She lives about 20, 25 minutes from me. And then we were going to go to Joann's together. And oh my goodness. She says, well, call. I know they were not really making appointments to go in, but she had to stand in a line. And she really can't stand that long without assistance from her cart or her cane. And at the time I called, it was a 90-minute wait to get into the store. By the time we got there, though, I think we might have waited 20, 30 minutes. So she stood in line with me because the original plan was, okay, well, I'll go up and check it out. If need be, you stay in the car, and when it's, when I'm a little bit closer, come on up. Well, what they were doing actually was 21 customer max in the store, and basically if a customer came out, a customer went in. If 2 customers came out, 2 customers went in, and so on and so forth. So when it got to be basically our turn, I had to run to the bathroom. So I said, are your restrooms open? He says, yeah. I said, where? And I made a mad dash for the bathroom. But okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Let's make sure we stretch this out. And then I want to tuck this one more time through here. And then I'm going to bring, I want to tuck this in just like this to bring the needle out and back through itself, back through that loop. And that way it ties itself down. You ever hear a song that just gets stuck in your head? That's me. I found it's not a new song, but it's new to me. And it's just been stuck in my head for weeks, for 2 weeks now since I heard it first. So, hey Steph, if you're still watching, I'm not gonna put a piece of wire in here for you. If you want to put a piece of wire on, it's pretty easy. You could probably just hot glue it to it. All right, we just need a little bit of piece here. Now I know it looks a little crumpled up right now. I'm actually going to stretch out that mask some once it's all done. And I'll tell you how I messed up on the mask last night. So I had this brilliant epiphany last night that if I sewed each half together first, the two panels, and then sewed them together, it would work out better. And I think if it had been any other material other than t-shirt material, I might have been right. But because it was t-shirt material, it just got looking like a sock or a pair of panties or something like that. And I promise you that it was neither one. It was an old tank top that was shrunken. The type of tank tops that you would wear to the beach or to the pool because you wouldn't wear them anywhere else. And because they're obviously been shrunk in the wash. And so I said, well, let's cut one up. I've got a whole bunch of tank tops in my closet. So let's cut one up. No. I swear it looks like a pair of underwear that I put a few extra stitches in. And hence, it will never be used as a mask. So, you always tuck your corners. If you get a ragged corner like that, just tuck it. There we go. All right, so again, we're going to start from the inside, and then we'll work our way around. Okay. So again, that zigzag pattern. And again, unless you're looking to sell these masks to people, they don't have to be absolutely perfect. They just have to fit. So, and I guarantee that, people aren't going to be walking around stores looking at your mask and saying, that's sewed really badly. No, they're not going to be doing that. Most likely, they're going to be walking around. They're going to see my cousin Stephanie wearing a flamingo mask. And they're going to say, where did you get that? That's going to be more the convo, I think, taking place in Kentucky, where there would never be a flamingo except for maybe in a zoo. So, okay, I missed. There we go. Steph, if you're still watching, don't worry. It'll be pretty when you get it. It is, 10 o'clock at night now, 10:04. So now, the only other thing I would suggest doing is this seam right here, is maybe sewing that seam down so you're not getting a tickle of the nose every time that you wear this. So we're going to stick that back through here, and then, just long enough. Okay, if it's long enough, wrap that last loop around your needle a couple of times, and then pull, and that's your finished off stitch. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Hi! Okay, guys, there we go. So here is the pretty much finished project mask. And obviously, that came out a lot better than I expected. The head is the top. This would go around your ears. I'm not going to put it on stuff. I just wanted to show you basically what it looks like. Go around the ear, Now the inside seam is what I was talking about. See this seam right here, guys? This seam, what I did with my mom's is I actually took one more piece of thread and I actually sewed that seam down flat. And then that way you're not, having little pieces of fabric and such tickle your nose while you're wearing it. So that is a tutorial, and I'll show you what is wrong with the other one I was telling you about. So the other one I was telling you about, when I had the brilliant idea, again, of sewing each piece together. I actually went up with kind of a nice seam, though. It's almost a braided seam, but it's how poofy it is. And I don't know if it came out poofy like that because of the material or if it came out poofy like that because of how I sewed it together, because it is fairly, you could almost stuff it with something. But see, the nose just didn't quite line up, but it would go across like this. And I guess I could do this to show you. But, and there's the flamingo. So yep, that's the finished product. When you start making these, you definitely want to have all your stuff together. You want to know basically what fabric you're using. I had an old pair of jeans a couple of weeks ago that I sat on this tiled seat in the guest bath, and I guess there was a piece of the tile sticking up just ever so slightly, and it literally caught me by the seat of my pants. And I was just getting ready to leave for work, so I had to make a mad dash into the master bedroom and get changed again. This one is a finished mask. I made this for my husband. The ears one ear was a little too short for him. I messed up. But my son was able to wear this. And this is what this one looks like. This is definitely more of a guy's mask because it's solid black. It is the men's size, so you can tell that the mutton chops, the cheeks, are a little bit bigger than they should be. But yeah, so that's how to make a mask. Once the video is fully finished here, what I'll do is for my description, I'll find the webpage that I bookmarked, and I will post a link to it in the description so you can go get the pattern. Oh, there it is. Stick that in there. Hopefully I can fix this thing real quick. I'll have to glue that. I can't see it. But again, let me show you that pattern and what you're going to be doing. If you are making masks to sell, this is the best pattern I've seen for that. If you're coming in late, you have the men's, the teens and women's, the younger children, and then the young children. You've got the 4 different sizes here. And I'm sure if it's a person with a large face from being obese or what have you, now I'm quite overweight and the women still fits me perfectly. The men's is a little bit big on the cheeks, but some people have a huge round face, and so you might have to extend it out. You can print this. Instructions and pictures are at craftpassion.com/?P equals 26304. She has this one, and I think she has the folded one as well, the accordion one. It looks like the medical masks. So, but I'll post that on there. She shows you exactly how to do this. And then she does say on here, fold your fabric, add seam allowance to cut. 2 for main fabric, which is the front panel, and then 2 for the lining fabric, which is what's going to go against your face inside. She doesn't give you any seam allowance, so when you do cut it, just make sure you give yourself a little extra. Like, I think the women's one I cut is actually the men's. No, it is a little bit smaller. But make sure you give yourself a little allowance for size. That's why I said don't worry about making a perfect cut, because you need to be able to tuck some stuff away. Otherwise, you're going to see the little frayed edges and things. And that's just not what you want to do when you're making these, especially if you're trying to get good at them and sell them. We're going to be wearing masks for many months to come, unfortunately. So let me show you the fabric that I'm going to be using and making masks tomorrow. Keep posted on my Instagram to see how these are going to turn out. But I've got succulents material. It's very pastel. And then I've got this beautiful black, red, and white poppy material. I've got a half a yard of each of these. Now, Joann's over the weekend had a fantastic sale going. These were 99 cents. These were always 99 cents apparently, but these were 99 cents. You bought 3, got 2 free. So I bought 6 rolls and got 4 rolls free. So I wound up with 10 rolls of thread, expecting to be able to use these actually in my sewing machine. My sewing machine's got a little bit of problem. I'm actually going to take it tomorrow to work with me, and then after work go to this car wash that has a air compressor that you're able to blow stuff out of your car with, like leaves and things. But I'm going to use it to blow out my sewing machine because I think my sewing machine's got some stuff stuck in it, and it just, it's not sewing properly. That's why I'm doing all this by hand. But as you see, minus my explanations, sewing it doesn't take much time at all. You can make 2 of those easily in less than an hour, depending on how quickly you actually sew. That was just for looks. I've actually only got my 2 patterns cut out that I planned on using anyway. Cleaning off my table here. Well, did not expect that to take nearly 52 minutes, but it sure did. Well, I am going to head back inside and maybe do a quick shower, and then off to bed I go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you come back and watch it later, even better. I really appreciate all the views and likes and thumbs and shares and subscribes, and please do all that good stuff and then some. Have a great evening.